is a unique song, not only lyrically but musically, because it's the first song that Jordan wrote for us, and that's cool. But lyrically also it's very unique because I'm looking at the band here behind the camera, and I don't know, I think I've told a couple people what it's about before. I may have even told Casey, but I don't know if anybody knows, but the song is about Casey, and the inspiration was we had just let somebody go, AKA fired, I guess, sucks, but we had just let somebody go from the band, and it's one of those things where it's like, the band talks, and it's like, this is what needs to be done. Who's gonna do it? Or how are we gonna, if we are going to do it, how are we going to do it? Or you appoint somebody. And Casey always seems to be the bad guy, because Casey's like the only guy who's like, all right, I'll be a dick if I have to, and it's nothing that we don't all feel too. It's just one of those things. So I was like kind of grateful because I've been in a band with Casey basically for like 10 years or something now. It's been a long time, but just like I was thinking back to like how many times Casey had to be the bad guy. And we know Casey's not a bad guy, but he's redheaded. He's got a hot temper, He can be the bad boy if he's got to be a bad boy. And so we wrote this song. I wrote the lyrics to the song about Casey. But I mean, so it's like burden the king, see him far below beneath a tower of corpses. Burden the king, because like we burden him with this kind of stuff. But the song really, besides the chorus, I guess, is more about like being in a band and facing temptation, whether it's from without or within, and the immeasurable self-doubt that hits you in waves sometimes. So it's sort of introspective, but also introspective, It's really good.
We wait when someone falls behind. Better, closer, warmer, worth keeping.
Casey asked me if I had any riffs or songs laying around that I could bring into this project. So I did have one that I actually just had written not too long ago and brought it up. About a week later, I had the track recorded at home, kind of a rough backing track, and kind of showed it to the guys. They were all pretty stoked on it, and but of course we had to get the vocalist's approval. So we sent it over to him just to make sure that everything flowed right for lyrics and there was enough space in the mix for a vocalist. So there was a little bit of changing as far as the solo riff and the chorus riff, but I'm actually really happy with the way it turned out because the solo, the backing riff under the solo just sounds massive. So that is what turned out to be King. So thank you to anyone who enjoys my song. That song was probably most likely influenced by Long Turnaround, but through the guys who are heavily influenced by Dream Theater. I enjoy Dream Theater, but not as much as these guys. So they inspired me to go listen back a lot more, and I started hearing a lot of that ninth on top of chords, and so I just kind of started playing around with the idea of like a power chord with the added ninth on top and playing through kind of a chord progression and using that. The kind of chuggier parts probably more influenced by like Trivium or In Flames or something. Shadows Fall is kind of what I was listening to at that time. So it's kind of a blend between that melodic with some heavy in the background. On top of that, it's the first song that will actually of mine that has been recorded in a studio or in a professional sense, and with a full set of bandmates. So definitely a leap forward for me. Another huge thing about King that made it a lot more meaningful to me was actually John's lyrics that he had approached me with. I think it was maybe just me and Zimmer about what the song was about, being about Casey and kind of the trials and tribulations that we've had to go through, and him always being the backbone of that situation.
King is a special song. It's the first song that Jordan wrote for the band. Obviously heavily inspired by Dream Theater. Very cool riffs and how they kind of interact with each other. It's hard to follow at first, but if you listen a few times, you might figure it out. A lot of good stuff in that song. I'm really proud how it turned out. The drums are just good. They're okay.
One little information about King. We went in there to record that song with good old Randy Biesterfield, and somebody decided that there should be a bass solo in that track. So I had to write that solo the day of recording. So going back to kind of Cliff Burton's influences, I kind of used what he was doing on his solo from Orion and kind of meld in with what the guitars are doing on that one. So I think that one ended up sounding quite well.